Hello and welcome back to another episode of Let's Right About Now. I'm your host, Chris Jones. I'm here with retired police officers, Jeff and Robert. They're back with part four of Policing in America. What's up, guys?
What's up there, Chris?
Fellas? What's up, fellas?
Hatch.
Hey, ready to get this conversation going. The latest, and I know a lot is going on throughout the country, but probably two of the most high profile cases as of late. First was the acquittal of the store owner, Asian store owner in South Carolina. And today, of course, I know you guys are aware of the guilty verdict that came down with I think it's Carmelo Anthony. And I kind of wanted to get some context around like officers. I know you guys work throughout the state of Florida. That happened in South Carolina, as I mentioned, in Texas, the other one. But from like a protocol and procedural perspective, I wanted to ask you guys some questions around like what do you do when you respond? And Robert, I'll start with you. You get that call, right? In terms of even what the dispatch may say.
Well, just like you said, Chris, you want to hopefully first the dispatcher get the correct information. So on arrival on the scene, if she has the correct information, as much information as they can have, you want to try to first be safe when you get there. Because if it's not the correct, it could be a setup. So you want to kind of make sure, it's not, you're going to be safe when you get there. And once you get there, you establish that it's a safe environment as far as your arrival. They're probably going to send more than one officer. They're probably, if it's like a shooting or something like that, they're going to send more than one. So it's probably at least multiple officers plus additional officers going to come. So I would say, once you get there, you try, as the lead officer, you want to try to secure the scene. And what I mean by secure the scene is try to collect all the evidence that you can upon arrival, like victims, witnesses, start fire rescue, start additional personnel, notify your command staff.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to, try to, if it's a shooting, you want to try to see if there's any kind of bullets or something left over, ammo around, a gun, a knife, whatever it may be. You want to try to secure that. Try to keep people out the area. And then once your backups start arriving, you want to try to secure the whole scene. You want to make it big. So once the detectives arrive, because you're not going to handle it, eventually it's going to be passed on to a detective. They'll reduce the area to an area where they're kind of more condensed. But you make it big, so in case something's outside that area, like a hot zone, a cold, we call it hot zones, cold zones. So they want to try to reduce it a little bit so it's more condensed where they can gather all the evidence. Now, they may have you do things like just put some witnesses in your cars, don't talk to them, just write some names down, gather some information, phone numbers, addresses, date of births. Try to look around, see if any video cameras are around, ring doorbells, like camera pole lights, LPR cameras, anything license plate reader cameras.
Yeah.
So you want to try to just secure everything until the correct personnel get there to take over the scene.
Gotcha.
Even if fire rescue comes, you want to make sure you gather their information. If you have a person that's injured, you want to have their information for court purposes. And you're going to be kind of like the lead until, like I said, the detectives arrive. So once they arrive, you give them your information, pass it on to them so they can start their investigation.
Whew. Needs to say, there's a laundry list of things that goes on. Thanks for that very in-depth and elaborate description of that, Robert. Jeff, you and I, we touched on this a few days ago, give or take. When you heard the store owner was acquitted, and we all had, I guess, heard some of the backstory, read some comments, be it commentary on social media, some media news outlets, of course. When you heard the Asian store owner, and I put the emphasis on Asian, right? The Asian store owner was acquitted. Like, Jeff, what went through your mind as a former police officer? Like, any emotions, thoughts?
Well, Chris, to be honest, I really didn't understand how. when you speak to it from a retired law enforcement officer.
Mhm.
I just don't understand how. Um, Especially when I heard the part about South Carolina uh, don't allow uh, your previous background or whatever to come into play in court. As a retired law enforcement officer, I really didn't understand that part in particular, because when I became a police officer, and I was taught a lot of times when you're dealing with someone, especially on a crime scene, you do uh, a background check.
Mhm.
And that background check, sometimes it tells us, who we're dealing with. Let's say, hypothetically, if I get a call to go to a retail store, for a theft, and I get there and I got to deal with an individual, and I run his background, and he's been arrested 5 times for theft, it kind of like, it kind of adds to, okay, well, he's been arrested for theft before. So in law enforcement, we was taught that. But when I heard that from South Carolina, that they don't allow that, and he got off, and I heard that he had previous, shot someone in the past,
Mhm.
it was like, what are we doing? You
Right.
know, like what are we doing? How come we can use it over here, but we can't use it over here? So yeah, I had it was,
Yeah.
I didn't understand it when I first heard it, and I don't really understand it right now, to be honest with you.
Right. Right.
Well, maybe
Anything
I
you want
think
to add to that, Robert?
we're looking at him as a victim, not as a subject or a defendant. So you get the call that someone stole something out of the store. You're a victim now. You're not really the defendant. So why would we run
Mhm.
I'm not a check on a person if he's a victim? Yeah, he did shoot someone, but
Uh-huh.
that's going to be something that not going to know about. We just know about what the dispatcher provided us, and that he shot someone. So yeah, I don't know how South Carolina laws are. It sounds kind of strange if it does happen that way, but that'll be up to the courts to the courts to figure out if the person's passed.
Right.
Well, we got to run a check, Chris, because let's say he shot, like, okay, he's a store owner, and okay, the kid stole something, but I guarantee you that call didn't come out as a theft. It came out probably as a shooting.
Yeah, sure, I'm sure it did.
Right. So now,
Mhm.
if that call comes out as a shooting, and I show up and I have a victim that's done expired, he's deceased. Now, and you shot him, even though you stayed on the scene, I still need to know, okay, the gun you shot him with, was it registered? Was it your gun? Are you
Mhm.
even allowed to have a gun? Like all these stuff, all this playing. So I got to run your background to find out.
Mhm.
Now I found out in your background that, okay, you was arrested for shooting someone else. All this stuff is got to be, it's got to be documented. And then if I go to court and I can't use it, I don't really know how that works. I don't know, Robert, is that the law in Florida?
Well,
I
that's
don't
just going to be on the civil side of the case now, because since the criminal part is already, unless they retry, but it's going to be like a civil lawsuit now. I'm sure the family will file and they'll try to get some monetary losses and get it that way. But other than that, I mean, that's how South Carolina, conducts their business. That's how they conduct their business. Unfortunately.
Right. Unfortunately. Yeah, it's just I hear you, Jeff, because I just had I didn't follow the case that closely at all. Um, just hearing some things, here and there, and um, I even heard. I think I heard. I don't want to be confusing cases. Yeah, heard that the guy, the boy had a gun or something in his backpack. Um, so that heightened the situation, right? So it's just so many things that I know happening so quickly But I just thought it was just so unfortunate. I've heard so many stories, so many stories. Did you guys hear or read anything like that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard things about it, but I heard it wasn't a weapon found. So it's like you said, they're all over the place with it. The information. I mean, we're not there, and we're not privileged to the information. I guess we are now, but at the time, no one
Yeah,
really knew. So, like I said, it's an unfortunate incident, and I think that since the person wasn't, I mean, had a past in shooting someone, if that happened before, which I don't know,
mhm.
Jeff knows more about it. But if he has done that in the past, does that regulate him from not doing it in the future?
And Jeff, yeah, that's right. I thought I heard you say that as well. He had he had shot someone before, or
From what I read, again, it's on social media. I don't know if it's 100% accurate. Maybe I shouldn't even say it, but
I got you.
from what I
Okay,
read, he had a past of shooting someone else and he got off. Uh,
oh,
Maybe I need to confirm that. I
okay,
mean, but
okay.
that's what I heard. But even with that, I mean, when I worked, we used to not teach, but we used to tell our store owners, who had stuff way more expensive than 4 bottles of water, not
Mm,
to, if somebody came in the store and stole something, do not run behind them. Like
Yeah,
we used to tell people that, like, don't run, like, don't. I mean, has it happened? Yeah, it has. Guys, working the store still, have ran behind some folks. But when we get there, we tell them, hey, in the future, don't do that. Don't run behind them,
so
because
go yeah, go ahead.
no, it just put everybody in a, now if you're running behind this person and he has a gun and he shoots you, like, it's not worth it. So we used to tell
Right.
them that don't run behind them. So from what I hear, again, they chased this kid for 150 yards or something like that. That's like what, a football field and a half for some water. I don't know. I mean, but that's where we at with it.
Yeah,
it's just, I
yeah.
mean, it's just property. So the property is not more valuable than your life. I mean, uh, I've had experiences too with security guards and someone store personnel chase someone. It's like, why are you chasing this person? Me personally, it doesn't belong to me. I mean,
Yeah,
took it and the police didn't get there in time. File insurance claim. I don't know what to tell you, but
right.
I mean, as a police officer, yeah, it's different. Yeah, we're supposed to run after them, but as a regular person that's working in the store, I wouldn't advise you to do that. Never.
Right. I just wanted to mention that case to you guys and kind of like, yeah, again, paint the picture from the initial call. If you guys were in that position, and then from Jeff's standpoint of how he felt about the verdict in itself. So I do want to pivot over to uh, the ruling that came down today regarding Carmelo Anthony. He was found guilty of murdering the other boy. And we're talking from some accounts, this black guy ended up stabbing. I believe he stabbed the guy, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so yeah, stabbed the guy, and I think he was defending himself. I haven't been following a lot of these stories, but again, that came down today, and I wanted to mention it to you guys. So it kind of, again, Robert, you get a call like that, like the same thing applies.
Same thing applies. You gather. Yeah, you're there for stage one. You make sure stage one is the best that you can have it, and you pass it on to stage two. Just pass the baton on.
Yeah,
And this incident, man, we have a problem with racism in America. I don't care. No one says it's a big problem, and it's always heightened because it appears to be. I won't say it's always because it's probably. I'm sure it's not, but it
yeah,
always appears to be against black men,
right.
and that's a problem. And we need to try to target that. And how we're going to do that in policing? With we don't have the number of black officers that can target our young black youth, so
Mhm.
it's kind of difficult. And I don't want to make it a black and white issue, but sometimes it boils down to being a black and white issue. And I know Jeff is adamant about it because he's go back to part 2 on this thing. To stop and frisk what he wants to do. Would that have prevented something from happening like that? We don't know. I mean, you can't frisk everyone. You can't stop and frisk everyone. You just can't do it. If it was allowed, you just can't do it. So now you're back to targeting someone because I got my pants halfway down, because I have dreads, because I don't have no shirt on, whatever it may be. I got an earring in my nose. I don't know however you want to target a person. So it's just a big problem, and police can't do it all.
Yeah. And I've been so busy with so many other things, I lost sight of it until Jeff mentioned it. But the jury, this was an all-white jury. Like, what are you guys' thoughts around that aspect of it?
I don't know much about it, but I do know from what I heard today when the jury came down that it was an all-white jury. So, is an all-white jury? You're supposed to be judged by your peers, right? Is an all-white jury the peers of a young, African-American male, young black male?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know, the same way the defense had to choose some jurors, the state had to choose some jurors too. So how they ended up with an all-white, nobody could have said, hey, wait a minute. We don't have any African-American people put on the jury. Right. None, zero. I don't know. And, I agree with what Robert said too, man. America, has, a big problem to me with racism, especially when you're looking at it from a police perspective. I did a little research on policing, and I broke it up in North and South when I did my research. And what I found out that policing in the South was used for something totally different than policing in the North. Police in the South back in, before, when they had slaves and all that, policing in the South was used for keeping the slaves from running away and things of that nature. Policing in the North was used for controlling labor and trade, stuff like that. So it's heartbreaking that in 2026, we still going through these same things. And as an African American father with 2 lovely African American kids, and who don't serve not the country like Chris, like you've been in the military, you serve the country. I serve from a law enforcement perspective, and I think we done had this conversation a while before. Like, what do I tell my son, man?
Yeah.
I think a lot of these society, America, they need to understand that our kids like hoodies and backpacks. Like, they like it. That's what they call fashion. That's what they like. So I don't know, man. Like, it's just like right now I'm at a kind of I ain't never really too much lost for words. Right now it's just like, I don't know, man. Like, you try to go in law enforcement. I was in law enforcement. I worked with a lot of white guys. I try to talk to them a lot and tell them that, that we, do the same thing you do, bro. Like, like I got a family, you got a family. Try to understand these young boys. Try to understand the culture. Try, but they don't really like it. I don't know.
They never understand, man.
Yeah.
Okay, how much you try?
So the term that we use a lot, I know you guys have used the term, it's sensitivity training. I mean, in a nutshell. I mean, does that even resonate in the police stratosphere? sensitivity training. What? How does that even sound to you, Jeff?
Sensitivity training. Okay, so I did work with an officer who had to go to sensitivity training.
Okay.
But I don't know if it was for, I don't know the details of why he had to go, to be honest. But I do remember him saying he had to go to sensitivity training. But it wasn't for anything that has to do with like policing, you know, African American kids or something like that. You know what I mean? I will say this though, and this is just the truth. I do think that, and I think we talked about this before, I do think that depending on where you live and your economic status, I do think policing is different based on where you at. I just got to be honest. Like, I lived in, before I lived where I live now, but I lived in Dania Beach and I worked in Bell Harbor. Policing was totally different, completely different. And I never really understood why. I mean, I guess I do understand why, because I can't lie. I think Bell Harbor had, my whole career had one shooting in the mall that time. Robert, you remember that?
I wasn't there. I don't think
that's probably before you got there. Yeah. We had one shooting in the mall, but in Dania, where I live, we had lots of shootings. So I shouldn't say I don't know why. I do understand why, but I'm saying though, the police was, even the officers, it was just, it's just different.
Yeah.
Maybe the people, not to say that the people over there wasn't criminals or did anything criminal, but maybe because they did white collar crime. I don't know, man. Like it's,
I got you.
I just know that, I have seen police officers where I live, jump out the car, and I don't know if I can curse on your podcast, Chris, but I'm gonna curse. I done seen them jump out the car and tell little black kids like, shut the fuck up and get on the ground. But really? I have never in my whole career witnessed any cop tell kids where I work, to shut the fuck up and get on the ground. I ain't never experienced that.
I'm gonna go here right quick, because we've talked about this before too, and in fact, I think we touched on this in another segment, and I think Robert touched on this several minutes ago. Bottom line is, like, from a recruiting perspective, like, how do we obtain the interest, keep the interest of a certain population of black folks to even become interested in policing? Like, what type of outreach did you guys have when you were active police officers?
I mean, you have recruiters that go out and target like colleges, try to get people like maybe studying criminal justice or something, to try to lead toward the law enforcement side. But some of those people, they're really just trying to go either like federal, or they're not trying to be like a local law enforcement officer. It's different. It's just a different mentality you have to have. I mean, as Jeff was just stated, but you got to have to be on the streets, you got to have a different mentality. It ain't like I'm going to Homeland Security, I'm going to the airport or something like that. I'm just targeting people at the airport. Or you may be on a border. You targeting people out here as a local officer, as they don't care about your gun and your badge sometimes. It's just how it is. To recruit someone in this field, and they're taking so much from police officers nowadays. I mean, at one point you had great retirements. Now they're not so great.
Okay.
It's just the benefits are just being reduced, that you just go other areas, and then it's so much negativity in law enforcement. That's all you see.
And then, Chris, I'm gonna add to this. I'm gonna kind of flip it a little bit. Also, too, especially like in a lot of inner cities, for African Americans, just to be honest, if we're gonna be honest on this platform, we're taught, like, little kids don't even talk to the police.
Yeah, I've heard that.
You know what I'm saying? So now, I don't understand the logic behind that. I experienced that. Black parents don't talk to we don't talk to the police. And I'm like, wait a minute. So you won't talk to a black officer. You need help in your community. we can't even recruit your 16-year-old son because his whole life he's been told the police ain't here to help you. But on the flip side of that, I have also seen a lot of white families tell their kids at a young age, the police your friend. But and I'm saying I'm generalizing, just saying we as African Americans, we say, hey, don't talk we don't talk to the police, period. And I understand it a little bit because maybe every encounter you had with the police, maybe it wasn't good. So again, like Robert said, I don't, how do we recruit young African-American men right now to go into law enforcement? I don't know, because again, like Robert said, they cutting pensions. Thank God they didn't cut mine. but they're cutting pensions, you're getting beat up, it's tough, man. And then psychologically, like Robert said too, you go, you do your job, you arrest somebody for doing something to someone, and then they go to court, they get off. And you know that they're guilty, but that's our justice system too.
Right.
And some say it's the best in the world.
I just want to piggyback on what Hatcher said. And another problem is that you get these parents that first thing they say, don't be bad. He's going to arrest you. Don't tell your kid that. I mean,
I hate that, man.
You already making me look bad. I couldn't stand parents say that. It's like, how would you tell your child that?
Yeah, I hate that.
No, so bad.
I totally agree.
I hate it.
It's just hard to recruit people into police work. I think I fell into police work probably by mistake. I mean, I never probably wanted to be a police officer. I just fell into it by mistake. Which turned out to be good. This wasn't what I wanted to be. It's like it just wasn't. I mean, I ended up having a great career. But if I had to do it all over again, I'd probably go another direction. Because get beat up, it's tough. You're never at home because you're trying to make that dollar. It's different.
Yeah, same thing, Chris. I had no intentions of being a police officer, zero. And
I remember Jeff, Robert. I remember when Jeff first told me. I'm like, police? Oh, what? What?
I had no intentions, and I would like to say I did it well. I would like to say that I did it well. Even the department, that I worked in, I tried to create like community, different type of community stuff, and I was respected. I was trusted in the community that I worked in. So I took my own money, out of my pocket, and started a 501(c)(3) for the police department. I took my money out of my pocket,
I remember that too.
Started a nonprofit because I had a relationship with the community. So I started a nonprofit for the police department to try to bridge the gap between inner city kids and police officers. That's what I tried to do. But guess what?
Hey, Jeff.
The administrators came in and took it and made it something totally different.
Jeff, that'd be a nice little side consulting gig for you, buddy. There's a lot of police departments need to hear stuff like that because and you have tangible, evidence in terms of results, the benefits, right? Of what that type of program, nonprofit organization can do for communities.
But again, Chris, that's hard because again, when I created that, I worked in a city. People had money; they didn't mind donating. But let's say you work in a city where there is no money.
Okay. Well, I know of programs. You can attest to this too. People donate where they believe they can support change. They don't have to physically be there or live in that particular area. We've all experienced that. So it's all in how it's couched, how it's presented, right? And that goes back to just that innovative thought, because again, you have the blueprint with respect to something you did, right? And you have the schematic. You have proven insights on how it benefited everyone else. So I think I'm one of those hopeless optimists, Robert. I try to see the good in everybody. And I think we still have enough people out here across this country, maybe some more so concentrated in certain regions of the country. But my point is, I think we have way more people, good people out here, genuinely good, who really want to positively impact others. And someone like you guys, just using your example, Jeff, with your subject matter expertise, being a career police officer, with that type of credibility, I think it could speak volumes, and that could be recreated in several jurisdictions throughout this country. I'm gonna call them out every other week, Robert. I'm gonna call them out. I'm gonna be that type of accountability partner.
I mean, Robert said it best, man. Policing in America is difficult.
Yeah.
And it's difficult because me personally, I think it's difficult because all of us look at things totally, totally, totally different.
Mhm.
And that's basically, to me, that's basically what policing is. I think I
Right.
said it in the very first one we did, Chris. You go to police academy, you get out, you pass your FTO, your field training where they train you, and
Mhm.
then they put you in a car and you
Go to
basically
the
your own boss. Yeah, you basically your own boss.
Right.
Nobody tells you, Chris, write a ticket. Chris, do this. Chris, do that. Like you basically, So now, your perception
Mhm.
of life and your struggles. You stop somebody, you see this family with 3 kids in the car. They don't have nothing. The car barely, whatever. Do you want to give them a $200 ticket?
Yeah.
You know, it's just. And then if you do give them a $200 ticket, especially if they deserve it, that doesn't make you a racist.
Right.
It doesn't. You
Right.
did your job. Could you have given them a break? You could have.
Mhm.
Did you have to? No, you
Yeah.
didn't have to. So it's policing in America, man. It's just, I think, I think it's one of the hardest jobs. I think it's one of the hardest things. I think it's really hard. What you say, Robert?
It's tough. I mean, I'm just gonna go back to what Chris said about sensitivity training. We do have training, or we try to direct stuff at different races, different nationalities, different
Mhm.
genders, um, and we try to get an understanding of it.
Right.
I mean, try to get an understanding of the LGBTQ community. We try to get an
Mhm.
understanding of the Black community. We try to get an understanding of the Jewish community, the white community. So now we got to have all these in our head of how people want to act or how they
Right.
should act. We try to interpret that once we encounter them.
Yeah.
Um, is it going to come off this way? Book training and street training, as you know, being a
Yeah.
military person,
Yeah.
it don't work out that way. It just doesn't work out. It don't work out like
Right.
that. I came from an agency where it was an inner city like agency, and it wasn't like Bal Harbor. I
Right.
wasn't getting called names. I wasn't being like target like, man, what you gonna do? It just wasn't like that.
Right.
So
Right.
it's different. It's hard out here. It really is, and especially being a police officer. And you got to figure with young kids with the social media stuff, it's like
Yeah.
bullying now on social media. They want to know you want to be a police officer, and why you want to be a police officer? We gonna start bullying you. So now I'm gonna go in a different direction because I don't want to be a police officer.
Right.
Now
Right.
I'm looked at as being a nerd or whatever you want to call, but I'm looked at a different way now. So it's got to start at an area where we can kind of guide these kids into Black young men because it's not many of us out there, and it's dropping very fast.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Which hence another reason why, Jeff, you need to initiate that schematic and make that thing spread. We'll talk about that more too. Talk about it more. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up and close this segment out. I appreciate you guys sharing this information and again, and folks know by now that these are your experiences, right? Guys who have been doing this for decades, individually, cumulatively for decades and decades. A wealth of experience via, real calls, real interactions with real people who had problems, and folks who had gotten in trouble, be it on the civil side, traffic light, whatever. You guys have experienced it all, so that's why I really like having you two on here as the mainstays to share this information. And I know Jeff and I had talked about it before as well. And some other guys have former officers, I think maybe even one current officer, have expressed interest to come on. So yeah, I'm looking forward to having all of you guys, just a panel of folks, and just really have a nice little round robin to get different perspectives.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, Chris, how many people can you put on here?
Up to 12 or 15.
Oh, because I wouldn't mind, like, if we do this again, maybe episode 5. Maybe you find maybe 2-3 civilians that would love to ask me and Robert some tough questions.
Yeah. We'll work on that. I like that. It's important to know how to respond, how to react, to make sure, as Robert loves to harp on, it's very important to make sure everyone gets home safely, right? And Jeff, yes, if we can coordinate that and make that happen, I think that'd be a very powerful episode. Very powerful. So thanks again, guys.
Thank you for having me.
See you next time.
Yeah, good stuff. Great stuff. And to the audience, as always, thanks again for tuning in. Like this video, leave a comment and share. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The Life Writing Podcast is another way we creatively inform and inspire, helping people write the lives they desire. Until the next time, take care.